Welcome back to another deep dive. Today we are stripping away the noise and getting right down to brass tacks.
Or maybe silver tax.
Yeah, exactly. Silver tacks. We've got a stack of research here that tackles one of the most hyped up predictions in the financial world. You know the one I'm talking about.
Oh, yeah.
If you spend any time on YouTube or financial Twitter, you've seen the thumbnails, the rocket ships, the laser eyes. Everyone loves to talk about the moonshot, specifically
Yeah.
silver hitting $500 an ounce.
It's the number that launches 1,000 clicks, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's kind of the ultimate fantasy for anyone holding precious metals.
It really is. And I get the appeal. You look at your stack of coins, you do the mental math, 500 times whatever you've got in the safe, and suddenly you're browsing listings for vacation homes.
Or picking out colors for a Lamborghini.
Right. But the materials we're diving into today, they're a bit of a wet blanket on that fantasy.
Wet blanket is putting it mildly.
Right. They're telling us to pump the brakes. They're saying we're asking the completely wrong question. Instead of asking when silver will hit $500 so we can get rich, we need to be asking,
If silver hits $500, how much will a loaf of bread cost?
exactly. And that is the pivot point where this whole thing stops being a fun speculation about early retirement.
And starts being a serious conversation about survival. What we're doing today isn't a standard financial forecast. Think of this as more of an intelligence briefing.
Okay.
We're going to run a forensic simulation of a de-dollarization event.
I have to admit, when I first saw intelligence briefing in the notes, I thought it sounded a bit dramatic. But as I read through the crisis logistics breakdown, it just clicked. This feels less like investment advice and more like a survival manual for an economic hurricane.
That's because it is. We have to unpack the core concept here before we even touch the math. If silver goes to $500 an ounce, do you think it's because silver suddenly became 20 times rarer overnight?
No, of course not.
Did all the mines collapse? Did we, shoot half the world's supply into the sun?
No, the metal is the same metal. It's sitting in the same vault it was yesterday.
The metal is the same. So if the price tag is exploded, it implies something very specific about the measuring stick.
The dollar.
It means the U.S. dollar has shrunk. It means the dollar has become 20 times less valuable. And we aren't in uncharted territory here. We have historical precedents. Look at Weimar Germany in 1923 or, more recently, Venezuela in 2018.
Right. The stories where people were literally needing wheelbarrows of cash just to buy lunch. I always thought those were exaggerated.
Until you see the photos.
Yeah.
They aren't exaggerations. They are the reality of what happens when trust in a currency just evaporates.
Mm-hmm.
So the mission statement for this deep dive is to look past the dollar signs. We are going to run what the source material calls a grocery cart simulation.
Okay.
We want to see if silver actually works as money when the paper system crumbles.
All right, let's unpack this simulation. I really like how concrete this is. We're not talking about abstract market caps or derivatives. We're talking about groceries.
It's stuff we actually need to stay alive.
Exactly. So the source sets a baseline. It's using current 2026 numbers as our normal state.
Right. So let's set the scene. Close your eyes. Imagine you walk into your standard local grocery store. You're not buying anything fancy, no truffles, no aged wine. You're just filling a cart with the basics to keep your family fed for a week or two.
Okay, I'm picturing it. Gallons of milk, crates of eggs, ground beef, some chicken, loaves of bread, sack of potatoes, vegetables, just the fuel.
And according to the data we have here in our current 2026 baseline, that cart rings up at about $200 in paper cash.
Which honestly already feels painful compared to a few years ago, but okay, let's stick to the simulation. $200.
Now look at the silver price in this baseline. We're sitting at approximately $70 an ounce for physical silver. So do the math. How many ounces of silver does it take to buy that $200 cart of food?
All right, let me see. 200 divided by 78, it's what, roughly 2.5 ounces?
Keep that number in your head. Burn it into your memory. 2.5 ounces. That is the calorie cost of that cart.
2.5 ounces, got it.
Now let's trigger the simulation. We enter the hyperinflation scenario.
Moonshot.
The moonshot.
Huh.
The news is going crazy. The charts are vertical. Trust in the Federal Reserve note. It cracks. Silver hits that magic number, $500 an ounce.
And this is where that Lamborghini feeling kicks in, right?
Yeah.
I'm holding the silver, so on paper, I feel like I've just won the lottery. My stack is worth a fortune.
But you still have to eat.
Right.
You can't eat the silver.
Right.
So if feeling very wealthy, you walk back into that same grocery store.
Mm.
But remember, silver didn't go up in a vacuum.
The dollar collapsed.
Right, the dollar collapsed, so the prices on the shelves have been updated. In this simulation, a single loaf of bread is now $50.
$50 for bread. That is hard to even wrap my head around.
Ground beef, $100 a pound.
That is absolutely terrifying.
It is. So you get to the checkout line with that exact same cart of groceries. The milk, the eggs, the meat. The cashier rings it up. That cart now costs $1,500 in paper money.
Okay, so the price of the food went from $200 to $1,500. That's the hyperinflation reality. The cash in my wallet is basically confetti.
It's useless.
Yeah.
Correct. But now let's do the silver math. You have silver worth $500 an ounce. You need to cover a $1,500 bill. How many ounces does it take?
Okay, 1,500 divided by 500, that's 3. 3 ounces.
3 ounces.
Wait, hold on. In the baseline, it costs 2.5 ounces. In the total economic collapse scenario, it costs 3 ounces. It's basically the same.
It's almost identical. And that is the revelation. The silver cost of your survival stayed roughly constant. The dollar cost exploded, the paper currency burned down, but the metal, it held its ground.
So hitting $500 silver didn't make me rich in the sense that I could buy the grocery store. It just meant I could still shop there.
Exactly. While the person standing next to you with a wallet full of cash effectively lost 90% of their purchasing power, you maintained your ability to eat.
Wow.
This is the true definition of a store of value. We hear that term thrown around in economics classes all the time, but this is what it looks like in practice. It doesn't mean you're buying yachts. It means you are preserving your life.
That puts a completely different spin on stacking, doesn't it? It's not an investment strategy for profit.
It's an insurance policy for calories. It is wealth preservation in its purest form.
Right.
But, and here's where it gets really interesting and frankly a little darker. The simulation we just ran assumes that you can even find the food to buy.
Right. The source material pivots here from the math to the physical reality. It calls this the crisis logistics perspective. Because money, whether it's paper or silver, is only half the equation. The other half is the actual goods.
We have to talk about the supply chain. We live in a just-in-time world. Your local grocery store doesn't have weeks of food in the back.
Really?
They have maybe 3 days of inventory.
3 days. That's it.
3 days. Everything relies on trucks arriving every single day. Now, in a hyperinflationary event, the supply chain doesn't just get expensive, it breaks.
But play devil's advocate here. If bread is $50 a loaf, shouldn't the baker be working overtime? Shouldn't the trucking companies be scrambling to get goods to the store to capture that profit?
You would think so, yes. But hyperinflation breaks the time delay of business. It's what the source calls the velocity gap.
Okay.
Think about the truckers. This is the driver dilemma. A trucker gets paid in dollars. He agrees to haul a load of produce from California to New York. That's a 3, maybe 4-day drive. He agrees to do it for, let's say, $5,000.
Okay.
But if the dollar is crashing, if we are in true hyperinflation, the value of that money is dropping every single hour.
I see where this is going.
By the time he gets to New York and cashes that check, the price of diesel he used to get there might have tripled. The $5,000 might not even buy him a sandwich anymore. He is literally paid to do his job.
So they just stop driving. Truckers won't drive for paper.
They park the trucks. Why would you work if the currency becomes worthless before you can even spend it? And it's the same with the farmers. This is what's called the producer strike.
The farmers stop farming.
They stop selling. Imagine you're a farmer. You have a silo full of corn. You know that next year, the price of seed and fertilizer is going to be astronomical. If you sell your corn today for worthless paper money,
You won't be able to afford to plant next season.
you are literally selling yourself out of business. So what do?
You hoard the corn. You keep it in the silo.
Exactly. So the shelves go empty immediately. We shift from a problem of high prices to a problem of availability. In a true crisis, the price tag on the shelf is irrelevant if the shelf is empty.
Having 100 ounces of silver doesn't help you if there is literally nothing to buy.
Right. And the economy effectively shrinks.
Yeah.
The global supply chain, bananas from Ecuador, electronics from China, that all just, it halts. The economy shrinks down to your specific zip code.
The question stops being, what is the global spot price of wheat?
And starts being, can I buy eggs from my neighbor down the road? Or does the local butcher have any meat left?
And this brings us to a really practical problem that, I hadn't thought about until reading this, the transaction problem.
The liquidity trap?
Right. So let's say I find a local farmer who has eggs and milk. And the dollar is dead, so he wants real value, he wants silver. But all I have are these big 100-ounce bars or a tube of 1-ounce Eagles.
Mm-hmm.
If silver is $500 an ounce, even a single 1-ounce coin is worth $500. How do I buy a gallon of milk? I can't hand him a $500 coin for $10 worth of milk.
And he certainly can't give you change. He's not going to hand you $490 worth of chickens.
That would be a lot of chickens.
It's just not practical. You can't slice a 100-ounce bar. This is why the source emphasizes the importance of fractional silver.
Small silver.
Exactly. Source talks about junk silver. Pre-1965 U.S. dimes and quarters are 90% silver. In a localized economy where the credit card machines are dark, these small denominations become the lubricant of trade.
Because they represent smaller values.
Right. A silver dime in this scenario might be worth $50. A quarter might be worth over $100. That's still high, but it's transactable. It's the new $10 or $20 bill. If you only have monster bars, you are technically rich, but functionally poor because you can't spend it.
So the smart money isn't just stacking big bars because they look cool in a safe. They're stacking transactable sizes. They're thinking about the checkout counter, not just the vault.
Exactly. You're building a personal currency reserve for daily expenses. But this connects to something else the expert in our source material mentioned. They broaden the definition of wealth entirely. Because if we are in a world where supply chains are broken, silver is step one.
But what's step two?
Step two is realizing that you can't eat silver.
Correct.
The brief is very clear on this hierarchy. If the shelves are empty because the truck stopped, the best investment you could have made wasn't gold or silver. It was a pantry full of long shelf-life food.
Tangible reserve.
Tangible reserves. In a crisis, a can of beans might be worth more to you than a silver eagle if you were starving. The briefing lists this clearly. Silver allows you to transact, but food stores allow you to survive the period where there is nothing to transact for.
That makes sense. The silver bridges the gap, but the food keeps you alive during the chaos. And then there's step three.
Skills.
This
is huge, and I think often overlooked by the financial crowd. In a de-dollarized world, labor costs skyrocket, but not all labor.
Right, I assume my ability to make PowerPoint presentations isn't going to be in high demand in a collapse scenario.
Probably not. The service economy, the digital economy, it collapses. It becomes a skills economy. If you can fix a broken pipe, weld a broken gate, grow a garden, or repair a diesel engine, your labor is worth its weight in silver.
Because you can't just Google a repairman and pay him via Venmo anymore.
No. And the parts might not be available at the store. So the guy who can fabricate a part or fix what you have becomes the most important person in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
If your only skill is moving numbers around on a spreadsheet, you might find yourself in a very difficult position. You have to ask yourself, what can I produce? Not just what can I buy?
That is a sobering thought. It's not just about what you own, it's about what you can do.
And finally, step 4, and the source argues this might be the most critical of all, community.
The island concept.
Yes, there is a myth in the prepper world of the lone wolf. The guy in the bunker with all the guns and all the gold holding off the world.
It's a Hollywood trope.
And it's a death sentence in reality.
Hmm.
The lone wolf eventually sleeps, he eventually gets sick, he eventually runs out of supplies. The true smart money builds a network.
Right.
You need to know your farmer before the crisis hits. You need to know the mechanic down the street.
It sounds like building a localized economy before you're forced to.
Exactly. You need to build those relationships when times are good, so that when the dollar fails, you aren't a stranger knocking on a door asking for a favor. You're a neighbor offering a trade. I have silver, you have eggs. Or, I can fix your generator, you can give me milk. That trust network is the ultimate safety net.
It seems like the recurring theme here is preparation versus speculation. The speculators are waiting for $500 silver so they can sell it for more dollars.
Mm-hmm.
The preppers are holding silver so they don't need dollars.
That is the core distinction. One is gambling, the other is insurance.
So, let's bring this to a verdict. The source material ends with a very specific intelligence briefing conclusion. How would you summarize the expert opinion here for our listeners?
The verdict is this: silver is your life raft.
Okay, stick with the metaphor. Why a life raft?
Think about what a life raft does. When the ship, which in this metaphor is the US dollar, the global financial system, hits an iceberg and starts to sink, the life raft keeps you afloat.
Yep.
It stops you from drowning in the freezing water of hyperinflation.
Right.
It preserves your purchasing power, just like we saw in the grocery cart math. It keeps you from going to zero. But
No.
a raft is useless if you have nowhere to go. You can float in the middle of the ocean for weeks and still die of thirst. You must ensure there is an island to swim to.
And the island is?
The island is your tangible goods in your community. The island is your pantry, your garden, your skills, and your neighbors. The silver gets you through the transition. It preserves your wealth so you can make it to the island, but the island is what sustains you.
That's a really powerful image. The ship, the raft, and the island. You need all three parts of the equation, or, well, you need the raft and the island when the ship goes down.
Precisely. And here is a warning. Don't dream of the ship sinking just so you can use your raft. That's the $500 silver fantasy. Don't wish for $500 silver. Prepare for what that price implies.
It implies chaos.
It implies broken supply chains. It implies a world where you need a raft.
It implies that the bread is $50.
Right. And nobody actually wants to live in that world, even if they have the silver to pay for it.
So what does this mean for the listener right now? I mean, we aren't financial advisors, obviously, but based on this briefing, the action items seem pretty clear.
First, get fractional. Make sure you have small silver. Don't just buy the giant bars because the premiums are lower. Think about liquidity.
Check. Small coins for small purchases.
Second, build the network. Talk to your neighbors. Find out where your food actually comes from.
Mhm.
If you rely 100% on a grocery store chain that relies 100% on diesel trucks, you are vulnerable.
And check your pantry.
And check your pantry. Because remember, in the simulation, the person with the silver could buy the cart of groceries, but only if the cart was there.
If the shelves are bare, silver is just a shiny rock.
Yep.
It really shifts your perspective. You know, we spend so much time looking at charts, wondering if the line is going up or down. But this deep dive reminds us that the line is just a representation of reality. The reality is the bread, the milk, the gas, and the truck.
Money is just a claim on energy and labor. If the system for delivering that energy and labor breaks, the claim, the money, loses its power. Silver is the best claim we have historically, but it still relies on there being something to claim.
Well, this has been, honestly, a bit of a reality check. I think I'm going to look at my coin stack a little differently tonight. It's not a lottery ticket. It's a survival tool.
It's the tool that keeps you in the game when the rules change.
I want to leave you all with a final provocative thought from the source material that really stuck with me. We talked about the grocery cart math. We talked about the 2.5 ounces versus 3 ounces. But here's the question you need to ask yourself today. How many weeks of food could you actually buy with your current silver stack if the credit card readers went down today?
Do the math.
Yeah, seriously, do the math. Don't calculate it in dollars. Calculate it in weeks of survival. It might change how you shop, both for silver and for groceries. Thanks for diving in with us. Stay safe, stay prepared, and we'll catch you on the next one.